We have returned. Now, first things first. I did go back and unlock the cage for the thief. And I also went back and picked up the Uchigatana from the ground where it was laying, because I had killed the man who was wielding it. Also, I put 2 levels into dexterity, which is why my soul count is lower. For those of you looking for the boss battle itself, rather than the collection, this episode may not be for you. This will probably be almost entirely collecting the items in this area. But for those of you who want to chronicle your item collection, I don't know if I'll get every 100% item, because I'm pretty much just getting all the items I know of, which isn't necessarily everything. And I've also realized that there's a secret third ending that I did not know about. So I'll try to be more impartial. Anyway. This area is interesting. Not entirely certain of the lore behind it yet, but these are worker units. And they have strung up what appears to have been the original local populace, and have tied them up and put them in body bags. These are prevalent throughout the area. Also up there, as you can see, there is a a giant with a large bow. He will become our friend later, because there's literally no reason not for him to be. And I must say, this place is very cinematic. Well, this game in general is very cinematic. They are also introducing a new unit type, which will pretty much be in every zone from now on, which are these guys, the Thralls. At least I assume they're called Thralls, because everything they drop is called the Thrall of whatever unit, whatever item they drop. So Thrall Axe, Thrall Hood. That is an item which applies fire to your right-hand weapon. You can also get a pyromancy that does that. This specific corpse is useful in that it helps you progress Jariat, or the Thief's storyline progression. I believe that's actually the thing that you use so that he will actually start stealing for you. Camera angles are nothing but the best. Also, I apologize for the frog in my throat. I've been doing my best to try and clear it out. I believe that's this house done. Yeah. There's also another new unit in this area. They are very... Excuse me. They are very similar in mannerisms to what used to be... I forget what their actual name was. The Fat Minister? Oh. From Dark Souls 1. Actually, let me go back up there. I did forget something. The Fat Minister in not Dark Souls 1, in Demon Souls, which was basically a pyromancy unit who was more or less a troll unit who kind of caught people off guard. And which usually helps set up ambushes, situations like this one, where there are people standing by what appear to be powder kegs. But there's even a better example of that further up the road. What happened? Anyway. Their main method of attack is their right hand. Hold on. Their right hand weapon, which inflicts bleeding. They also have a pyromancy, which when they grab you typically kills you, at least at this low of level. And they also have something that looks to be a drain spell. I'm not entirely certain if it actually functions as one or not. Now, as you can see, these are basically free setups. And nobody cares. Nobody cares about the fact that you're murdering these people. They're just like, oh, that's unfortunate. But I still gotta worship this dead tree, you know, with dead people in it. I can double back and read all the item descriptions if you'd like. Most of the lesser items, like the consumables, are just sort of a... Hold on, I need this. Cleanse the bastard's curse by the sound of that. Q grease. Oof. Hold on, sorry, I'm trying to concentrate on not dying. Yeah, that's the thing that I think is a drain attack, but it also breaks as soon as it hits anything, up to and including walls and destructible objects. Also, as the... I don't know what they're actually called, the fat ladies. As they walk, once they're actually on patrol, they start banging their metal pole on the ground so that you can tell that they're on patrol. And that's their telltale sound of them walking, is that bong that you heard earlier. As far as the optional boss in this area, I will be doing it, but probably not right now. Because I honestly don't feel comfortable enough in my skill in fighting it currently. But I will come back for it later. As it is very useful to kill this particular optional boss. Most of the optional bosses have, you know, an actual bonus. It's just a question of how quantifiable that bonus is. And in this case, it's one of the most useful optional bosses ever. Yeah, that's the grab that if it hits you is pretty much a one-shot. Oh. Oh, I got its clothes. Evangelist. I have never actually gotten their clothes before. I'm having weird good luck. These teachers saw women came to enlighten inhabitants of the undead settlement. Oh, and sent carriers on the path of sacrifice. it makes me actually look larger. Good gracious. Right. As much as I would like to simply skip to the next area where the next boss is, I feel it is also necessary to play to both demographics. So it'll basically be a one-off of every other being a boss, where the one will be the gathering and the second will be the boss. With, of course, the exception being the starting area, because starting area is quite quick. And those of you who may be asking, why do I still have the Ashenessus flask? It's for if I end up doing sword arts. Because sword arts are skills which do different attack patterns. Like that has a really good guard opener. And they require FP to use. I'm gonna actually cut this part real quick and I will be back later. And we return triumphantly. Due to technical difficulties, personal health issues, and finals week. A week later, I return. So, to those of you watching just now, you probably won't notice a difference, but a week has elapsed between the last recording session and now. Why was I two-hitting that? Anyway, let's see what we've got. Nothing really useful. I will, however... Nah, can't equip that, I don't know the stats. This is actually the Sunlight Covenant, which is what you use to put down a yellow summon sign. And this is Estus Soup. Normally I'd drink this right now, but as it is, I don't have enough Estus for me to continue here, so I'm actually going to use the Homeward Bone. Homeward Bone is pretty much a useful thing to use anytime you have over 500 souls. And outside of that, outside of having over 500 souls, you just want to use your dark side until you get one of the items that was from... that's basically the ability to have infinite Homeward Bones. These guys drop actual garbage because they're collecting garbage. Perhaps you need help. Poor soul. However, those units are also able to drop one of the earliest, but also weakest, spear class weapons. That is, save for the pike that you start with as a... what's it called? The unit that's basically the paladin. It starts with a spear, a 100% physical reduction shield, and a heal spell. And enough faith to use the spell and one attunement. I probably should go back and turn in that Estus shard. Also, the throw is a little bit more weighted in this game. or at least the heavier items like the firebomb are. And you actually have to aim farther upward than you normally would for them to activate sometimes. It really depends on the weight of the item in question. I'm not even going to bother with you. Also, to increase the difficulty... Excuse me, I'm trying to make a point. Goodness. Ah, so good. Anyway, now I can drink the soup. To increase the difficulty and also give the most true quote-unquote experience, I plan on playing as often in quote-unquote body form, or as in this game, kindled form, as possible. Because that way I will be more liable to be invaded, but there are actual storyline invasions that cannot take place unless you are in body form, and you do actually get unique items and weapons from it sometimes. So, since I no longer have the thrusting of the short sword, I'm going to have the separate rapier on, so that I can still have a thrusting weapon. Did I already clear? Oh, I didn't. I missed this. And then I got the pine resin? Yeah, okay. Like right here, there's an invasion. And it does not occur if you're not in body form. Also, as you may have noticed, I have such high poise I can roll through people and it staggers them. The rapier is a very good dex weapon. It's not as good as the S-Stock, but the S-Stock is technically... It technically scales better with strength, albeit by like 1 point. So either of them could be argued to be either. Yeah, this does E strength scaling, which is pretty bad. This should be what, C? Yeah, C. Also, you typically want to check the first upgrade on weapons to see if their scaling actually increases. This is a player. If they're because sometimes you can actually get weapons whose scaling increases on the first upgrade, making an otherwise seemingly worthless weapon actually worth something. Because see, if I could upgrade this from C to B strike scaling in my first upgrade, that would be very useful. How strange, I'm not being invaded. Maybe it's only if you equip the Sunlight Covenant. And now I've got a nice flaming sun effect in my top left corner. If I recall correctly, there's a whip around here somewhere. Which is the earliest whip class weapon that you can obtain. It's not the greatest, but it's not bad either in terms of, well, it's a starting whip. It is what you'd expect it to be. Maybe this guy only invades you if you're below a certain amount of Estus. I don't know. This is weird. I'm supposed to be being invaded by a mound maker. There is also another NPC that is close by that I will be obtaining. Oh, there it is. Of little use against armor and tough scales, but quite formidable against enemies with exposed skin. Impact. Strike from the left to evade shields and deal a stinging blow that temporarily slows stamina recovery. The shackles of bondage lie deep in the hearts of all humankind. Does this actually have bleed? It does not. Surprising. And it is dex scaling with a unmarked strength scaling. You need 6 strength to wield it, but it does not actually scale with your strength. Unless you put a, I believe, heavy stone onto it. 90 for starting damage isn't terrible. And it actually kind of looks cool. Like, it looks like something out of another game. Oops. That's your stamina / guard break. You see, this actually makes it a lot more like a Castlevania character if you try and get the whip in here. As opposed to in Dark 2. Dark 2's whip was pretty garbage. That was bad. Look how slow I am. Why is my poise so high? 19 poise. Whoa. Yeah, I think these guys have somewhere around 10. And if it, I believe it's 1.5 times poise gets stagger. But I might be being ridiculous. This is not a door. Eehee. Please jump down so I may backstab you. No? Okay. Oh, it's Swarm! That's what that is. That's Swarm. Oof. Oh god. Oh god. Goomba stomped. Oh lord. Oh no. Please, lady. You would do best to calm thyself. Tried to warn you. Goodness. Excellent. That is a strength scaling bleed and strike weapon. Really good if you're doing a strength build, because it starts with C scaling, but you need 21 strength to wield it properly. It has a very similar moveset to that of the greatsword, but it is a mace. And the L2, not bad. Really good weapon. Way too heavy for me. At least. I say heavy. I do typically use greatswords, but it feels slower than the greatsword. Maybe it's just mental, but it feels like it is. There he is. Wait, no, that's a Holy Knight. Interesting. This is an NPC invader. You can tell by his name. This guy, I believe, is the gentleman who has the buckler. And a broadsword. Spike gem? Sharp gem. I think that's a dex scaling, but I could be wrong. Oh, there he is. Hello. If you'll excuse me, I've got this bonfire to light. Now then. Shall we engage in jolly cooperation? This man is vulnerable to guard breaks and backstabs. Also, if he breaks your guard, he will get a what is known as a front stab, which is the parry, backstab thing. It's essentially the same damage as a backstab, which is 1.5 times base damage, ignoring your damage multipliers. That's what he uses to break your guard. And he swings fast for a man with a bastard sword. Actually, it may be a flamberge because of the bleed. Yeah, it's a flamberge. Oh! 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 Get down! Also, as you noticed, I got 2 Estus shard, or Estus refills for having killed him. I'll return quickly to the Firelink and be back shortly. Tempting. Do I already have the torch? Yeah. Oops. I do not.
She was already dead. Thank you. I'm not surprised, though. Almost a relief, really. You can keep the ring as, well, a little trinket of thanks, I suppose. You can keep the ring as goodbye and stay safe. Oh, this place is a bore. What good is thievery if you've nowhere to go?
Indeed. I probably should have mentioned, when I went back to get him, he gave me this ring and told me to give it to Loretta. And that's where that bone was that you saw in the earlier part. If the video quality didn't decide to just fail, it went really bad really quickly. And I don't know why. That's a shortcut. I've actually never been down here. Not this one. There's a different one. That man, the large man, has a higher chance than I think anything else, at least, to drop the great machete, which is a pretty nice strength weapon as well. And I still haven't gone back and gotten the extra flask. He has anger issues, as you can tell. He has what the DOS community will refer to as the Man-Eater Mildred moveset. Nothing. Oh well. There's an item up there. Now I'm not entirely sure if you can actually kill the crows to get drops or not. I will come back here and retrieve these items at a later date. As tempting as they are. That's my cue to go. That over there, I believe, is a bone shard. So if you're in a hurry, grab that and go back there, and there's some ashes to grab. Goodness. I missed. Trying to get that item. That item is a great scythe, which for strength builds is exceptionally useful for the optional boss, which those of you who may have seen my previous videos already know what it is. Those of you who are just watching this for the first time for whatever reason, in there is the optional boss. You may be able to tell what it is just from looking in there. But I'm not going to fight that yet. Also to note, there are 100% invulnerability frames from the second you start opening a door until the door is open, and you can actually regain control. So if you're actually being chased by a whole bunch of things and you can get through a door, open the door and run through it, because more often than not, they are actually the bounding box for an opponent's pathing. I believe there is an ember right over there being guarded by dogs. There should be another one up and to the right. I think I'm just gonna run. Because there are a large amount of enemies up ahead. I apologize if the frame rate starts tanking horribly. Actually, let me unlock this shortcut first. Dog, please. This is actually an area where you have where you need to buy a key to progress for one of the areas. Also, that's the cestus, which is the fist weapon. The large rats have a weird impact on your camera for some reason. Not entirely certain as to why. And there is the shortcut back to the bonfire. However, I guess it's worth going back to get the 2 Estus. In fact, I'm going to go back anyway because I'm going to go get my additional Estus flask. And a refill on my drink. Alright, I'm back. I'd like to apologize if you can hear any additional background noise. There is one additional fan running today, because the other fan that you would typically hear is my CPU fan, and I can't exactly turn that off and still record. I think this red actually has a higher chance of dropping an ember for you, but not really worth my time. Excuse me. Okay, you've made yourself worth my time. The blood bite ring. It has a... Oh, Lord, the dog got down here. Higher blade resistance chance. How even? How? Whatever. You shouldn't have been aggroed because I sat at the bonfire. I guess I caught it at a bad angle of the patrol. These people throw pots. There's also an area down there with items that I'm not entirely certain what they are, as I've never actually stopped to get them. I probably will later in this run. This episode is already dragging on pretty long. Hi, how are you? It's nice. Invulnerability frames. And now we meet a good friend of ours from Dark Souls 1, Sigvard. What? That is garbage. How are you doing that? You have the greatest moonwalk skills I have ever seen. Look at this. Now please leave. You've won the dance competition. There's nothing else for you here. Alright. If you insist. I can tell by the way that he uses his walk, he is a woman's man, and he has no time to talk. And Sigurd just doesn't care. Look at how little he cares right now. Sigvard. It's delicious, I know. Alright then, now that we are safe, because this person is experiencing a temporal anomaly in space-time, let us discuss reality with our friend Sigvard.
Oh, pardon me, I was absorbed in thought. I am Sigvard of Katarina. To be honest, I'm in a bit of a pickle. Have you ever walked near a white birch only to be struck by a great arrow? Well,
If I'm not mistaken, they come from this tower. Goodbye. He won his Best in Show medal and now he's going home to tell his wife and kids.
have you? Well, if I'm not mistaken, they come from this tower. Whoever it is, I'm sure I can talk some sense into them. Well, whoever it is, I'm sure I can talk some sense into them. But I have to find a way up. That's just the trouble. This lift only goes down, you see, and... well, that doesn't get me anywhere. This lift, with a little warming up, eventually... No. I've got to use my head and think. This lift...
I'm sorry, Siegfried. Goodbye. In case you didn't notice, he's using a Zweihander, which is a German claymore, so to say. Two-handed sword. That's literally what it means. Zwei, two. Hander. Hander. Two-hander. This gentleman, we will not be fighting right now. However, I do want this. He's a little bit too cold for me. Ooh, lag. That was good. Beautiful. Okay. Here comes a part where I possibly die a whole lot and lose an ember. I will not be regaining said ember until I can actually make progress. From here forward, it will be a series of zerging and killing people to get the items throughout the map. What I will do is I will simply cut it every time I die, so it will seem as if it is one continued gaining of items, and I will stop to describe them all as I go. Alright. Ready, steady, go. Also, you'll be able to tell when I die by the top left corner there, if obviously you aren't paying attention. I'm not gonna burn embers just on grinding runs. It's not worth it, especially if there aren't any invaders to actually get anything off of. And there's literally no point in not cheesing this guy out. And that is Iritho Knight, one of 3, the knights of the same area that Vort is from. Outrider Knights of the Boreal Valley. This weapon is enshrouded in frost and causes frostbite. Now, typically, I would actually just drop the broadsword for this. It is a really strong weapon. Way lighter than everything I have. Well, it's not that light, actually. It's heavier than the broadsword. But does 10 extra damage per swing. And has way better guard absorption, way better stability. Frostbite damage, which is an attribute that the broadsword simply doesn't have. And even though its scaling is lower, it still scales to the same amount of plus damage with my strength that I currently have. I really, 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 really like this sword. I, in fact, used this sword for 90% of the game. And then I realized that everybody and their brother has been calling it a symbol of being a noob because it's a new thing. Also, its leveling scaling is terrible. Absolutely terrible. It is basically the lesser version of what was this thing called the Drake Sword in Dark Souls 1, for those of us who haven't played it, which was basically one of the strongest swords that could carry you throughout most of the game, but basically broke your experience. Same thing was in Demon Souls, but it was called the Crystal Halberd, which was one of a really, really, really strong starting weapon that did not scale proportionately, but it was way better than anything you could get. Also, there's an area there that I will be going to shortly. But I'm going to do this chronologically. I did not start there. I started at the bonfire, and I need to go back to the bonfire and reclaim the items that are there that I haven't gotten yet. But first, now this man will not be firing upon us when we are down there. And, in fact, he actually has dominion over more than just the area that we were at previously. There's also a certain castle that we'll be getting to later, where he can actually be hitting. He'll be protecting us there later. But in the meantime, I'll make use of that area soon. But not right now. Actually, let's do this the easy way. There's nothing down there but death. Believe me, I've tried. This is actually the beginning of a separate area, which I'm not going to be going to yet. As much as I would love to just simply go forward. This is where the next boss I will be fighting will be. But in the meantime, I am not actually going to be going here. In the meantime, I am going back to the dilapidated bridge so I may continue my item gathering. I can actually use the Great Scythe. Interesting. Then I may actually fight this boss. But I'll probably do it as my fourth boss rather than third. Staggered. This would actually be an excellent use of the Uchigatana, because it's pretty strong. Not necessarily just because of its actual physical strength, but because it has the bleed attribute. The way the bleed works is That percentage, that number there, the 33 bleed, is percent. So that's 33% bleed. Once your bleed gets to 100 on your opponent, they gain an additional damage bonus. I want to say equivalent to a critical of a like on top of whatever you're doing to hit them normally. I could be wrong on the calculations there, but so you typically want to have something that has 35. So I'd want to level this up once before I started using it, actually. Anyway, now that we've made friends with the giant, all of these areas that have ballista bolts in them are basically safe domain for us to trade in, because even if the thing hits us, it will not do damage to us, but it will do damage to everything around us. And this is now our playing grounds for free items. Bone shard. Yeah. See what I mean? And we do get the souls for all the things that are dying, too. Making me wonder, what currency do giants trade in? And if the giants trade in souls, why is he not the one obtaining the souls? Is it by proximity? There are so many weird rules about souls that I don't understand yet. What is that? That's an important item. You can tell by the way it's glowing. But what is that, and how do I get to it? Oh, it's the area past the broken bridge. I believe that's up in the area that I have yet to go. I need to go there eventually, but not right now. Anyway, this area is cleared out. In terms of enemies, I mean, we still have a couple of items to grab. Such as this. The Mortician's Ashes. One of the more useful items in the game. Any of the times that you find ashes, or if your NPCs just give you too much lip and you feel like murdering them, you can gain their ashes and give them to the handmaiden, and they will sell almost all of the items that they would originally sell. So if there are any unique items that you enjoy from a person's possessions, even if they are expensive, and even if you are going to kill them, it may be advisable to purchase them beforehand, because it's not a guarantee that you will get the item that they are going to be selling from there on, because you usually only get the actual consumables and the lesser weapons. Me, for instance. Spoiler, there's a champion. There is a character in this game known as Patches. He is a holdover, and he has been in every FromSoft game so far. I hate him. I think he's the worst character in the entire universe. And every time I find him, I kill him, because he's the worst. You'll see why later. But I killed him, and I gave his ashes to the handmaiden. And I could only get 2 of one of the weapons that he was selling from her. I thought that was an enemy. Giant! I call upon thee! Thank you. You're the best. I thought I didn't have a torch. Bizarre. Oh well. Now I can dual torches like a baller. Oh yeah, rolling like a big shot. All the light. They do act... Okay, also to note, I don't know if you've noticed. Well, now you certainly do. Different weapons have different movesets. This is L1 with a torch in your left hand. This is L2 with a torch in your left hand. This is R1 with a torch in your right hand. This is R2 with a torch in your right hand. They have very slightly different movesets, but they are different. This applies to every weapon. This is L1 with a broadsword in your left hand. This is L2 with a broadsword in your right hand, which is the same thing as an R1 with a broadsword in your right hand. But this is a block. Everything that's in your left hand is presumed to be a block because your left hand slots are presumed to be your shields. And it actually considers a torch to be a shield. It falls into the shield category of weapons. Don't believe me? Here it is. Shields. Problem is, that shield is just enough to put me overweight, so I'm taking off these gloves. Let's move on, because I don't believe there's anything down there. The Mortician's Ashes are the most important item of this area, aside from the boss soul that I get from this boss, but I'm not getting that yet. I may actually get it as my third boss instead, in hindsight. I have a feeling everybody who's watching this will want to see this boss. All 12 of you. Oh lord. Or if not to see the boss, to see the improvements that I've made in the 6 hours I spent completing the boss last time. I want your hammer. I don't actually want to use it, I just want to have it. I also want your pick. Or pike, I guess. Do I not have one? No, I don't. Of course, I thought that about the torch, too, so... Poopy. Come here. Oh, who's a good dog? Fuck you. Getting quite a large amount of souls. Not used to being this low soul level. Not entirely certain what to put it towards. Probably Vit, though, because I never put it towards Vit, and I really should, especially if I'm making a knight, because Vit is health. And I believe it gets you like 30 health per tick, which is amazing. How did I not come here yet? Whatever. Oh well. Mourners. This area, which I somehow glossed over on my first run through here, is actually more important than you'd think, because this... Might as well actually just hotbar these, because I'm using them more than I would usually use them. It's just going to be annoying to try and scroll past them. Anyway, that is an NPC that comes back to Firelink with us. And there's also a bonfire up here. Excuse me. I cannot backstab this man, so instead... he's gonna throw the pot at me! Don't throw your pot at me! He's gonna throw your pot at me. Alright, well, if you're not gonna throw your pot, then I'm just gonna shoot you. Oof. Come on. No? These guys also double as the same guys that drop the machetes. If they throw their pot at you, they'll just pull out the saw, which is a machete for you because reasons. Video game logic, am I right? Man, I know. Life's tough, isn't it? I think he fell onto the other one. Interesting. I'm gonna get this despite my better judgment. Yeah, they're a firebomb, gentlemen. Which I rolled directly into their attack. How did I actually miss this place? I don't even have the door open. The door opens from the other side. I've never missed that place before. Let me knock at the door. They don't seem to want to let me in. That has a war pick and a blowpipe. The war pick you can get. The blowpipe, I don't think so. Not necessarily because blowpipes would be useless, but because there is no ammo vendor for blowpipes. Oh, to note, that bone shirt that I got earlier is actually an increase to your Estus. It makes you have Estus +1 as opposed to, you know, plain old Estus. And every time you get another one, it adds 1. The maximum is 10. I'm not here to disturb your lives, gentlemen. I'm here to reclaim the vendor and this item, and to be on my merry way like nothing even happened. God donkey. Excuse me, sir. I see that you're cooking up a lovely meal of rice and beans. I think it needs to be more spicy. You know what they say. Never hurts to have a non-partisan agreement. I'm just saying that because I just got a partisan. Shall I strike at him with my partisan? Generally adaptable to many situations, but in cramped quarters, it slices ricochet off walls. That's basically all great swords too, so I don't know why you're telling me this now. that kind of goes hand in hand right there with my argument of I think that the kick in this is just fine. Kick is so much more satisfying because you get to kick people off of cliffs. And it's like, oh, I kind of weirdly flung my sword and my shield, but I didn't hit them with my sword. So it was more of a bleh than it was a push. Whereas this is a, you know, Sparta. That type of thing. Oh no. We will hug in the shade. This is Cake Town! Alright. Here's an axe for those who didn't start with one. I think that's actually the first hand axe. Aside from this, which is a battle axe, does not count as a hand axe. Favored by Parrymancer is a great swamp. Go figure. We've got one right here.
Aha, unkindled, are we? Welcome to my abode.
Your abode.
I am Cornix, an old pyromancer. A crow in his cage, as you see now. But here we are, an encounter for the ages. I hear the unkindled make for fine vessels. Care to learn some pyromancies from this old man?
I mean, I've already seen American Pie, but I guess you could probably teach me something outside of that.
Most wise. A chance encounter should not be squandered. To reiterate, I am Cornix of the Great Swamp. The pleasure is mine.
Alright, Cornix. Alright, so here's the plan. Even... What the crap? I'm hollow inside. There is nothing inside my helmet. That is creepy. Anyway. What I think I'm going to do is... I'm going to try the next area. If I fail, I'll try the tree. If I fail that, I'm going to try the next boss... until I kill it. So I think the only way down to that gorge is to get the key that I haven't got yet. And I believe that that is as close as done as I'm going to... Oh, never mind. I was gonna say that I was done with this area, but there's still stuff to loot over here. Not very much useful stuff, but it's still stuff. Alright. Alright. Calma. Oh, that's where the dog came from. It's just chilling in here. Oh! Style points. Oh god! Calm thyself. I can't kick you. Why was I trying to? Why am I rolling off a cliff? I deserve that. And as you can see, I no longer have the fire over my son. I don't want to fight any of you. I don't care about killing any of you. I just want your items! There's a bone back here. I don't want to fight dogs for it. I just want it! I think that's actually everything for this area. Okay. Which way is this going? Oh no! Get on there! Whew. Okay, so, against my better judgment, I think I'm going to go ahead and call this an episode, because I pretty much exhausted that area to the best of my ability for now, and I have a whole new area of looting, so I figure I'll make that a separate episode. Unless you think I should do the boss. I should do the boss. I'm going to do the boss. Alright, boss comes next episode. Until then, have a fantastic day.